Good evening, everybody. This is Jamie Paxton with Warrior Spotlight, where the stories are real, the emotions are raw, and the hearts are courageous. We are super excited to be back in studio tonight. As always, we have my husband. He hasn't been here the last couple weeks. My husband, scooch over this way, hon. As my co-host. And then tonight we have in-house, his name is Josh Parish. And we're going to hear all about him, who he was, what he does, and all the amazing things that are happening. I do want to give a shout out to our women's retreat. That was amazing. I know we briefly covered that on our show last week. We'll be changing some things up for that. August 28th is our big fundraiser, so pay attention on social media for that. So, welcome, Josh.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yes.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
So, Josh and I were talking when he got here, because my husband was asking me, he's like, how do you know Josh? I'm like, well, I met him on social media, and then we come to discover I've met him once.
Yeah.
He doesn't look anything like he did when I met him.
No, I had
he was really businessy, suity.
Shorter hair, too, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I think I met you once.
I like this attire better.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Don't care, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't have to wear a suit and tie anymore either.
Yeah, right.
In my closet right now, I still have probably about 100 dress shirts, 5 or 6 different suit coats. So it's nice not to have to wear that anymore.
Right,
so.
exactly.
So.
Mine went back to Men's Warehouse.
Oh, nice.
Suit and tie, yeah.
Yeah, can't beat that.
No, I can't beat it.
Yeah, our daughter got married
Okay.
the end of May, and so he rented a suit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a Black Hawk pilot, too, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We like to throw that in there.
Yeah, you have to.
She's a shit, yeah.
Yeah, damn right. Yeah, I know. Kate, she's the executive director for the Fisher House in Michigan. Kate Melcher.
Yeah, I've not
she
met
was
her
a Black
yet.
Hawk pilot
Yeah.
as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Kate's a good friend of mine.
I've heard amazing things, and I so want to visit the Fisher House.
You have to.
Yeah, I really
so
want to see it.
I will say this. I will set up a time with you. April
Yes.
LaRock works at the Ann Arbor VA, and she transitioned over to the director or the manager of the Fisher House for Kate. So yeah,
Awesome.
I'd love to set that up.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would love to see it. I heard it is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I was there for the ribbon cutting.
Oh,
yeah, it was pretty badass.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into, tell us about who you were before the military.
Sure. So I grew up on a little Native American reservation up in the UP called Bay Mills. And so I spent around the first 20 years of my life in Bay Mills. And if you know anything about Native American communities, very close-knit. And I was very astonished to find that over 75% of Native American males have served in the military since World War II.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the highest population of people that, ethnicity that served in the military. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. And so I just had a calling when I was younger, and originally I thought maybe I wanted to be a law enforcement officer, but knowing how hard that lifestyle was, I transitioned over to the military, knowing that was just as hard. So.
It's funny when you hear people say that.
Oh my gosh, it was so crazy. So
one doesn't want to do the other's
Right.
job, which is so ironic to me, right? Like, oh, I would never want to do that.
Yeah.
Typically shoot a gun in America or shoot a gun overseas.
Yeah,
Just-
exactly. Yeah.
Right, yeah, basically, right?
Hopefully
Yeah.
get shot
Bad
at
guy over there,
less
bad
over
guy here, so to speak.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
She wanted to be a cop, too. In the
Yes.
beginning.
Isn't that weird? Maybe it's like an
Yeah.
innate kind
Very.
of response.
Yeah, but I knew I'd get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, law enforcement,
Yeah.
cop,
Yeah.
policeman.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a hard lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 of my brothers are police officers, and I
Oh.
see every day. Now it's not just it's a hard life. Now the sentiment towards law
Oh, yeah.
enforcement.
Yeah, we don't want to get into that.
Yeah, I was on 9 and 10 News yesterday. Same thing. I was telling them about my brothers, and I'm like, man, the culture has really shifted into something really bad. In my personal opinion. So,
No, that's why we don't want to get into it.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I think we feel the same
And
way.
what we do, just to say this, so the first responders are an important population to us as well, right?
Yeah.
We can't do what we do without them. They protect our communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is this stigma that goes along with them now. And so we really try to incorporate both our local fire department and our police department in the events that we do.
Yep.
We like them there. We like them to just be part of our events.
Yeah.
They're not there to. I mean, they are there on duty, but they're there to, they have coloring books for the kids, and they've even participated in some of our events where they got to showcase their squad cars, and the kids got to see that in a good light, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I love that our program is helping teach the kids that they are an asset in our community, not the bad stuff.
Not to be afraid of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no other family members were veterans?
No. Well, I mean, so my dad was the youngest, or is the youngest of 13. 11 that lived. A couple of them passed away, but 3 of his brothers served in the military. I believe in Korea. So, but yeah, I'm the oldest of 5 or 6. I can't remember. So I'm the oldest of 5 or 6. And yeah, nobody else but me served. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's a crazy story how I even joined the military.
Please, let's hear it. Yeah.
So I was kind of a shithead kid, growing up.
Yep, we've heard that story a lot.
Yeah, I was not on the straight and narrow path as a child. So, and I was sitting around and probably on the random Tuesday, probably fishing or gambling or something.
Wasn't on Fathead's couch though, huh? There was one guy sat there was on Fathead's couch and randomly. Anyway,
okay.
If he's watching, he knows.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching,
the Oopers even get in trouble, huh?
Yeah.
I thought the Oopers all went straight and narrow either, right? Isn't that what they call the Oopers?
Youpers.
Yeah. There you go, Youpers.
Yeah. So close
Like
to
Minnesota.
Canada. Yeah. See,
Minnesota.
we don't like people from Minnesota. For that specific reason, I can't stand that accent.
I like that now, the
It's like
Youpers.
Canadian. Yeah. I don't say A anymore. So.
No, I could tell you left that up there at the reservation.
I hope so. Yeah.
Is that what is a reservation?
Yeah.
Did I say that? I don't want to.
No, don't.
PC.
No, you don't. You don't offend me. So.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You were down the straight and narrow. Or no, you weren't.
I was not. No.
Headed to Fathead's
Yeah.
couch.
And so I was sitting there one day, and my buddy said, "Hey, the military's giving out bonuses. We should sign up."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, darn right." That's before I knew that they take 25% off the front and then 25% off the back.
Right.
So you're getting 50%
You're getting
of
it to party with
$12,000
right now. Right.
bonus. Yeah. And so I said, "Yeah, okay. I'm not doing shit with my life, so might as well." So we ended up joining up, and I went down to MEPS, and come to find out, he had a very long criminal rap sheet.
Your buddy, huh?
Yeah, so he didn't make it in.
And it sounds like he was sort of influencing you down the straight and narrow.
I think he just saw green, he saw money. Like, we're just poor Indians. So, yeah. So we joined, and then he couldn't make it, and I went to basic training in 2000.
Why did you choose the Army?
I wanted to go Air Force, but I wasn't smart enough. So then I was like, all right, Army, combat engineer, bridge builder. I kind of
build the runways for the golf course for the Air Force.
Yeah.
Just that's what I heard.
They knew how to use computers.
I don't know.
I didn't know how to use computers back then. But yeah, so Army, originally, like I said, I was going to go into be a police officer, and then my dad was like, well, if you're going to go in the Army, why don't you go be an MP? So I did good on, this is ASVAB, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did good on the ASVAB, good enough to go to Alaska to be an MP, but I'm like, God, it's too cold there, Plus, UP is cold enough as it is, so ended up going to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for basic training. Got out, a lot of other privates like myself ended up falling for the wrong girl. Yeah, ended up having a baby, and then got deployed to Iraq, 03 to 04.
Did you get married?
No, I did not.
That's
get
usually
married.
part of their story too.
No, that was the second one. Yeah. So. Like I said,
I'll let you tell the
Which
story.
one's
Sorry.
watching?
yeah. Well, hopefully none of them. Hopefully my wife
I was wondering.
of 11 years now.
Oh,
Yeah,
you found one.
I
Yeah.
did, yes, with our second child on the way.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so she's 6 months pregnant right now.
Oh, well, congratulations.
You know that
Shout out to Courtney, I love you. So
You know how that happened though?
Stop it.
what's that?
Stop it. Just go ahead. This is what I have to do with him. So go ahead.
You know what? My wife deals with it too. So yeah, no harm, no foul. So yeah, so I got out of the military. Well, I kind of stumbled when I got home, and the way that when you go through TAPS, your transition out of the military. Once you get kind of that ETS date, I guess I just wrongly assumed that the military was going to give you all of the tools that you needed to transition out. And they didn't. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, okay, where do I go? Who do I go talk to? And it seemed like every time I'd find somebody that would give me some sound advice, just when one door opened, another one would automatically close. And so, I don't want to get all like personal, but like I really struggled.
No, we want that. That's what this is
So,
about.
yeah.
Somebody's
We
going
want
to
you
hear.
connect.
Hopefully,
Okay,
somebody
yeah.
hears.
Yeah.
And is going through the same thing.
Yeah.
I just shared a post, and I was going to bring it back up, but it shows the veteran sitting down in front of a wall and says, "We'll send him off to fight."
Yeah.
And yet we don't give him the tools to fight for our freedoms, but we don't give him the tools to enter. And I just shared it
Yeah.
to Little
Yeah.
Blessing just
Yeah.
as I was sitting
So
over there.
that's
So
what-
that's
Okay.
That's
yeah.
our
Go ahead.
target audience.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. So I guess I'll say this then. I tried everything in my power to drink myself to death.
Sure.
I mean, literally. I mean, I'd wake up and drink, go to bed and drink, and then when drinking didn't work, I thought maybe I'd eat a bullet. So, and I say this enough so she knows it, but if it weren't for my wife now, Courtney, her name's Courtney, we've been together 15 years. I really don't know if I'd have been here. So. She always says this, and I got a tattoo. It's a diamond here. I don't know if you can see it or somewhere. But she always said I was her diamond in the rough.
Oh, nice. Mhm.
So, yeah. So, in 2010, we moved down to Livingston County to Howell.
so you met her up there then?
I met her at I'm an avid golfer. So, I met her at a golf scramble.
So can I pause and
Sure.
ask you this question? So, did you attempt to take your life?
I got to the point where I had the gun out a few times. But I think what really saved me, even before Courtney, was, like I said, I had a few relationships before I met my wife, and had my son, who's now 19. And then I ended up marrying my ex-wife, and we had a daughter. So I really think every time I really got to the point where it got really, really dark, I started thinking about the kids.
Good. Yeah.
And I think that's what really kept me from...
Saved you, helped
Yeah,
you. Was
going-
you drinking as them times when you were getting real dark? Was you obviously under the influence of alcohol at that point? Which tends to lead us to do things that we don't.
Well, you're sitting on your couch and you're, feeling sorry for yourself, which a lot of us do. And then all of a sudden, you're having... whiskey. I love whiskey. So I'm having a glass of whiskey on the rocks, and then 2 glasses and 3 glasses, and it's like, doesn't sound too bad. I'm not going to hurt anymore.
Right.
But yeah, it's just always that moment of clarity that pulled me out of it. So, yeah.
And
Good.
that's the piece, because I really want you to understand where we're at, and it is so important that veterans are able to hear this, right?
Yeah.
So it is great that we have veterans like yourself on the show who share your experience, right? And then also you're a valuable asset because you also have some resources you're going to share, right? And then we have individuals who are civilians that share resources, right? But the key element is how many veterans do you think are sitting on their couch where you were, right? In that
Right,
dark
yeah.
spot. It's a real place. So it's important that I just want to pause in that moment to not for you to really understand that concept and how grateful we are that you're sharing that experience.
Yeah,
right?
no, I appreciate it. Yeah,
And
not
we feel
gloss
honored.
over it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So-
because it's not. Yes, you've overcome it, but there was this. It was a journey to do that, right?
Yeah.
You just didn't go, okay, I'm better, right? Because that's not the reality of the people that we're attempting to reach, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's even the family members going, how can I help,
Right.
right? How can I help? My son, my daughter, my wife, my husband is sitting on the couch. They aren't leaving their room. Where can I get help,
Yeah.
right? Because they are saying, oh my gosh, I know that story, right?
Right.
That's how they relate to us. So,
Yeah.
Not that we hope that somebody sees that, because we hope that this tool is for them,
oh yeah, for sure.
and
Well-
that you're brave enough to tell your story.
Yeah, and I guess why
You
I
can save one person.
when I say I sometimes I want to be careful because I do a lot of these interviews and public speaking and stuff, and unfortunately there
Right.
are people out there and organizations like you had said earlier that you have to be PC about
Right.
because it's not good news.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I like the more raw, uncut stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, it ain't all
and-
puppies, tails, and
Yeah, and
unicorns.
not
It's
to
not.
take from you.
It's not. There's
So
always
we had a
something.
veteran on here. He's still currently serving, and he has served. He just completed his 4th term overseas. Right.
Okay, 4th deployment.
He has 10 kids. 2 are out of the house. 7 littles. Right. And the media was there when he got home. They did a surprise visit with his kids, right? They did that. Yay, we're so happy, right?
Yeah.
And what we covered was what really happened afterwards, right?
When the cameras are off.
The reality
sense,
of what that integration looked like,
Yep.
right? And
Yeah.
he came on 2
I was
episodes
just
to
going to
share
say,
that.
the first one really opened him up, and then he.
Because he
Good.
knows that there are tons of people like him, that the media only wants to portray that good story, and that's not the facts. Whether it's 18 or 22, it doesn't matter. We're still having the issues of what we're having with the veterans, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Taking their lives and struggling, and then the spouses. And
Yeah, his
so-
family didn't even know until they watched
Yeah.
what he was saying on the show, and then that even encouraged him more to come back the second time.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah. But we understand. We want
Yeah,
we want
absolutely.
you to say
Perfect,
whatever
yeah.
you're comfortable with, and
Right.
if we ask you a question, and you're like, "I'd rather not answer that." This is
Yeah.
you sharing.
No,
so,
I
yeah.
So do
appreciate
you still
that.
drink?
Yeah,
Do you?
but it's. I'll say this: I'm in a lot clearer mind headspace now, where I don't abuse it.
Right.
I don't drink to get drunk anymore, and I don't know if that's with age or whatnot. But I'll sit down and sip on a glass of whiskey before I would drink about 10 glasses.
Right, sure. You weren't. You were. It seems like, and maybe you were looking for something at the end of the drinking, and now you're not. You know
Well,
what I mean, per
what's
se.
that old saying? that misery's at the bottom of the bottle,
Right.
So yeah.
I'm sorry. So please continue. Thank you.
No, it's okay. So I moved down here to Livingston County, and what I realized, and it was so crazy, is that the resources are there. There's a lot of resources out there. But the problem is, and I feel like one day the light bulb just clicked on for me, because I've worked at the federal level helping veterans, I've worked at the county level, and I've worked at the state level. And one common denominator is this, that we expect the veteran to understand what benefits they're entitled to, but they don't. And here's an example. Go on any social media post and just ask a random question. Hey, I want a VA home loan. You're going to get 100 different answers, and 99 of them are wrong, but how are you going to pick that one answer that's right? Or it's go to the VA. How many times have you heard that? It's like, all right, are we talking about the VHA, the VBA, the CDVA, the CVEB?
Civilians even know that now. Meaning, I hate to say it, but that's how. Yeah.
No, it is really fucked
elementary.
up.
That is. Yeah,
it really is. And when I was with the state, I had to be very politically correct, but I don't want to be, because you know what? Here's what pisses me off, and I don't want to get
tell us what
too
pisses you
off
off.
track. Is this? In the last 10 years, the federal government has spent $6.8 billion to reduce the veteran suicide rate. It's actually increased. And when I worked for the state, what really pissed me off is the federal government tried to, do the little, what do they call it, rope-a-dope, where they tried to show, I guess, mislead people by taking National Guard and reservists out of the equation, so it looked like the veteran suicide rate actually decreased. So 22, I think, is a very low number.
The Guard and Reserve don't count. Don't you know that?
Yeah, they didn't.
They don't.
They
They don't.
serve.
They don't fight.
Yeah,
for,
they didn't
don't,
serve.
They don't fight for their country.
Oh, you don't know what it's like, right?
Yeah.
'Cause
Even though
you
90
went over there for 90 days or 34 days.
Well, 95% of all National Guard units were deployed in support of OEF since 2003. So can't tell me that they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They don't mean anything. So.
Were you in the reserves then, or no?
So I was in the National Guard.
Because
Yeah.
that's what. Yeah.
Yep. So, by chance, in 2010, I believe, I got a job with Livingston County Veteran Services. And they were like, here's $400,000. I was a program director for that emergency relief fund we talked about. And they're like, all right, do with it what you will. And so I started building programs where I saw unmet needs. Like, I knew that we had a big transportation problem. I knew that we had a homeless veteran problem. I knew that we had an outreach problem. We just weren't doing that. So for like the first 3 months on the job, all we would do is just sit in our office and wait for the phone to ring, or wait for somebody, some stray person to walk through the door looking for, CPS or, DHHS or something. Then we'd be like, are you a vet? And then we'd trample on them. And yeah, so I started building programs, but more importantly, I started doing community outreach, because, what they say is, it really takes a community to help. And so what I started doing is I started creating these what are called veteran-friendly communities, where there's a stigma where, we look at veterans and it's kind of like, and I started talking to a couple of my cop buddies, and they're like, yeah, it's weird because in our system, we're not supposed to, but they put a little asterisk if the person's a veteran, and they'll be like, we think that he is more susceptible to violence just because he was in the military. And I said, what a load of bullshit that is. So now you're going to deal with somebody differently just because, if anything, you should be dealing with them, or feel more at ease with them because they've been trained and they know what to do, what not to do. Yeah. So I worked for the county for about 4 years, and during that time started a transportation program, started doing more outreach. We started sponsoring families for Christmas, Thanksgiving. I applied for a grant through Men's Warehouse. We had a semi drop off, probably 300 or 400 suits one day. And it was pretty cool because what we would do is we would take either the people in the Veterans Treatment Court or just people that were looking for a job that didn't understand how to do a resume. So we'd do resume building workshops and whatnot.
Right.
And then at the end of that workshop, we'd give them a brand new suit.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we gave away all those suits, I think, in 2 or 3 years.
Wow. Amazing.
Yep. And then my wife graduated with her master's degree. And originally the plan was I'd put her through school and then I was going to quit and then go to law school. But I just loved what I was doing so much that I'm like, okay, I'll just do night classes at law school and then still work. So I must have applied for the state jobs with the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency probably 10 or 11 times. Never got an interview. And then by chance, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm somewhat of a, I guess a hustler per se. Yeah. So I think outside of the box. So I'm like, man, I wonder why I'm not getting past this civil service exam through the state. So what I found was the civil service exam, they do a keystroke or a keyword search. So they're looking for like veteran, benefit, Vietnam, Iraq. So I'm like, okay, I'll just pepper those words in there. Right. And I get a call, and this lady was like, okay, we really liked your resume, but we want you to answer a question. And I said, okay, I'll answer the question. So she sent me over a question. She's like, you have a Vietnam veteran that comes through your door. He's homeless. He's never had VA health care, and he's disability. And I'm just like, well, I do this every single day. So I just rattled it off. And I turned it in, and I got a call the very next day, and the lady's like, did somebody else write this for you? I said, no, I've been doing this for 5 years now. And they hired me right on the spot. So you and I mentioned the state used to have something called a VCAT, called a Veteran Community Action Team. Probably one of the best programs out there for like boots on the ground outreach. But unfortunately, due to COVID, they ended up cutting the program. But my wife and I always had an exit plan. We're like, okay, I have a little bit of a problem with authority. So I don't like people telling me what to do. So we always said, I'm going to be my own boss. So originally my wife's like, well, let's, get you a law office and stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be happy doing that. So we sat down and we kind of took the concept of the Veterans Treatment Court with the county, with the VA, with the VCAT. And we're like, okay, we know that veterans don't understand their benefits. Let's build resources to bring the resources to the veterans. So let's have the veterans and the resources in the same area, and in a very non-adversarial way. Whatever we do, let's just make sure that we're connecting these veterans to their benefits. And so we sat down one day and we're like, how about an event called VetFest? So VetFest was a pretty cool concept where we just gave a bunch of free things to veterans, prizes, free food. Because there's a lot of veterans out there with, like you just mentioned, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids that can't just get up and go to a Tigers game or a Red Wings game or just a carnival even. Shit, you go to the movies these days.
Right.
I got 3 kids, one on the way, and we went to the movies a couple weeks ago. It cost me $100.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to sneak popcorn down my pants or something like that. It cost me $25 just for popcorn.
Yeah. No, that's funny. It is. It's crazy.
It is nuts,
It
yeah.
is.
So we came up with the concept of VetFest. So technically, really what it is, it's like a resource fair on crack, I call it. And in 2018, when we first started it, we thought, okay, we'll have 300 or 400 veterans attend. So we had almost 1,800 attend.
Wow.
Yep. We had it as a 6-hour event. And to be honest with you, I think they just showed up because we were giving away AR-15s and, vacation packages. And this old World War II vet showed up, in his full Class A's or whatever they called them back then. And he stayed the whole 6 hours and damn near died. He's in a wool. It's 90 degrees out.
Poor dude.
And I'm like, dude, just give me your ticket. If you win, I'll give you the gun.
Right, yeah.
He's like, no, I got to stay. Yeah, so we
Did he win anything?
You know what? He did, but it wasn't what he wanted.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think he won like a grill package.
Yeah, right.
Kayak. He's like, what the hell am I going to do with a kayak? I'm 90 years old.
Got to write it. You got free tickets to the pony farm or some shit.
Yeah, we don't give away dumb shit.
Got a free massage.
We give away some pretty cool stuff at our events. So, we tweaked it, and then in 2019 we had around 3,000 veterans attend, and we keep outgrowing our space. But here's the really cool thing. And I'm kind of a numbers guy in this sense. I want to make a meaningful impact on the community. So the only way I know how to do that is to get these veterans connected to their benefits. So I work really closely with the CDVAs, the County Department of Veterans Affairs. So there's 83 of them in all 83 counties in Michigan now, ever since we got that County Veteran Service Fund I told you about. So I started tracking the metrics with the local CDVA, and what we saw is a month after our event, our VetFest event, they saw a 60% increase in veterans going to that office to get connected to their benefits.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is amazing.
Yep. So,
I've been
connecting the dot.
Yeah.
Dots.
Well,
dot.
yeah,
Exactly. That's awesome. Yeah.
So we just recently had June 12th was Women Veterans Day. Not many people know that day even exists, right? It's a real day on the calendar. And so we had a fundraiser, but we highlighted women veterans. They had to register, and they got goodie bags and stuff like that. Now I don't remember where I was going with it. Oh, getting them connected, right?
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because, like, some of these past women veteran things that I've attended, right?
Yeah.
These resource fairs, terrible,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
In the goodie bags, they give you tampons and shampoos, and it is so offensive. It is so offensive, right?
Yeah.
And you're like
Maybelline or something. Yeah, right.
You're like,
what are these pills like?
Yeah, and then you do have VA people that are sitting there, but not like with an open computer going, are you registered for your benefits?
Right.
How can we help you? Right? And I'm like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
And so I knew that we wanted to be able to do that, to at least highlight the women and do something special for them, help people know that it's a day, right? And it wasn't just for them, it highlighted them, so it was for anybody who wanted to come. But
the statistic is a female veteran is 4 times less likely to access their benefits than a male veteran. That's
Really?
federal data right there.
I can tell you know your shit.
Like I said, I've been doing this for like 12 years.
Numbers, and they're important because that's you want to see your results. You really want to see them. And
I do.
Whether you're spending money on advertising or any business.
Men will wear typically. I'm a hat wearer, anyways, right?
Yeah.
But men, you will see them Vietnam, Iraq, all that kind of stuff, right? To get women to these events. It is like pulling teeth, right?
No, it is.
They would just as soon forget all about their career, right? Or they're like we had the MC. Her name is Rebecca. It's not Vertigo. I apologize if you're watching, Rebecca.
Shucks.
Yeah, but she is she's at 102.3. She's the radio director there, right? But she served 2 years and she was a combat medic. But she says, I only served 2 years. She was a combat medic.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Only 2 years. You still, I don't care if you served 6 months.
Yeah.
You raised your hand. You're one of the 1% that state that you're going and you're going to serve your country, right? And so I really am an advocate for that. Because so many say, well, I didn't really do much.
Right.
Or I was just guard, or I was just reserve.
It's almost the opposite of what you said.
You did
how
what
you
your
reviewed.
job was tasked with, right? And so,
So here,
the balls to do it.
Here's what really kind of gave me, I guess, that push to really keep doing what we're doing. So this is during our first VetFest event. So
It says, I think you saved my husband's life. He's an Army veteran, and today is the first time he's been out of the house in 3 months. We enrolled him in VA healthcare services at the Ann Arbor VA today. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
And the really, it gives me goosebumps.
Sure. Yeah, right.
The really cool thing about us, what we do, and I feel like there's some synergy with like what we do and what you do at the nonprofit level is, we follow up. There's this 30, 60, 90-day follow-up period because I see a lot of veterans that are falling through the cracks. And even at the state level where, I don't want to give a veteran a handout. We always say we want to give a veteran a handout.
Sure.
It's just, you're not broken. It's just, you served your country and, sometimes we all need, a little bit of assistance. So, I guess where I was going with that is like this gentleman right here, we did follow up with him, and I'm happy to report, I think 2020, it's like right before the pandemic hit, I spoke to him. He got enrolled back in college. I think they had another baby, got a job, lost like 40 pounds. He was really overweight. And to give you an idea, this is the same gentleman that was having such bad PTSD flashbacks that he was digging holes in his backyard. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. There's a movie, and it reminds me of every time, but she told me, she's like, when he has really bad nightmares, I'll catch him. He'll be sleeping out in that foxhole out back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
So
you said you've seen it. I've seen a movie with that. I
can't remember the name of the movie. Yeah,
I did see that movie.
It's like Ryan Felipe's in it or something like that.
I know. Yeah.
Stop Loss. It's called Stop Loss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our president of our organization was the first veteran to go through our program.
Okay.
And he is a Marine. And it took him a year to come to our organization, right?
He is watching too.
He is.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he is a completely different man. He was isolating. He was drinking. He was doing all of that, right? And he goes out and he speaks at events now, and it is amazing.
Good.
Right? My goal when I started this was to impact one life, right? And we've far exceeded that by far. But I look at him and I am so proud of the man he has become for him, right? Because I don't know what happens, right? And maybe you have the answers, but I don't have the answers. When we get out, I don't know what happens with everything that we've learned, right? It's like it goes to some mystery place, like we don't even know what to do with all the training that we've done. We've lost the intelligence of what we had, right? We're like zombies walking around in this world, right? And we're like... And then finally pieces of it coming back, right? Like, wait a minute. I was a first sergeant. I know what I'm doing. Yeah. Get it back together.
Yeah, you're a top. You're squared away, yeah.
Get it back together.
Yeah.
And but it goes somewhere when you get out. It is the craziest thing. I don't know where it goes, but it's crazy.
What I've found through my travels in this life is that, when you leave the military is very, very good at teaching you how to not die and kill other people. Protect, your guy on your left, your guy on your right. But what they don't do is teach you how to acclimate back into civilian life. I always say it's like TAPS is death by PowerPoint. That's all it is. When I got back, I got back from Iraq. I went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Went through all the shit that they make you go through. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, God damn, I haven't had a beer in like a year. And like one of the girls was pretty cool. Her husband or something, like each got us 6 beers. So they're sitting in the fridge in the hotel for us. And we're like, oh my God. And all of a sudden, it's like a guy's like, make sure you have your discharge papers. Make sure you get military records. This and that. I'm like, Bud Light. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
Bud Light and a cigarette. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
So, they check a box. That's what it is.
Right.
So, you lose that sense of camaraderie, and then they kind of just like kick your ass out the door, and it's like, thanks for serving.
But how have they not figured that out yet, though? That's the part that pisses me off. How have they not figured it out that they sit there like zombies, right? Yeah. We are included in this, right? And it is a process that we just mark a box.
Yeah.
Right. And or when we come home and we have the questionnaires after we deploy to a combat zone. Are you fine? Are you fine? Are you fine? Yep.
Oh yeah, you're going to say yeah because
it does, yeah. But that's the piece. We had a Vietnam veteran on the show many, many months ago, and he talked about the civilian integration, right? from Vietnam, and he put himself in an institution 14 times, right? Trying to acclimate and figure out how to acclimate into this insanity, right?
He did all kinds of things.
And then,
For an older gentleman, when you heard about, the drink and all of it.
but it's so crazy, though, in 2020, there's no difference in the acclimation from Vietnam to
This time,
veterans
yeah.
getting out in 2020, trying to acclimate into the civilian world. I cannot believe that they missed this.
So we have the nonprofit side, but we also have a for-profit side, and so I think I've kind of found the key to Solomon's mine here, where we lose veterans is you got a veteran. So each year, around 200,000 men and women leave the military service and transition back to civilian life. We know through statistical data that 10% of that population comes back to Michigan. 20,000 vets doesn't seem like a lot, but Michigan has around, in 2018, I think they said that there was a little south of 600,000 veterans in the state of Michigan. But what baffles me is less than 12% were ever connected to a federal benefit. So by federal benefit, I mean, your education assistance, your VA home loan, your disability, your VA health care, and a few other kind of, random floating things that you're eligible for. But where I think we fail our veterans is, A, we don't give them all of their military records when they leave military service. So what we've created is, it started out as kind of like a government contracting business, but it turned more into a tech platform. So we've developed a tech platform, cloud-based. My business partner would be able to tell you more than I can. But, we digitize all these military records, and then we give them to the veteran on like a cloud-based storage system, or we can even put them on like a VA identification card, stuff like that. So it doesn't matter if that veteran goes back to Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, his records or her records are there anywhere they go. Because right now, and I'll tell you what I think is a pretty horrible story, and I stumbled upon it when I worked for the state, was I had, we call them hybrid veterans, where they're like 10 years active duty, 10-year reservist, or National Guard, so state specific. So this veteran had applied for disability benefits, and he got his records from archives, the federal archives in St. Louis, after about 6 or 7 months, which was good back then for them. But the VBA, which is the Veterans Benefits Administration in Detroit, that makes the decisions on some of these disability claims, had sent over 11 separate requests to the National Guard in Lansing, to headquarters, JFHQ. And I'm like, man, what the fuck is going on? Still hadn't received his records, and so he was backlogged, like I think 13 months, still waiting on his disability claim to be decided. So I went up to the National Guard, like right up to and I thought there was going to be this huge room of a bunch of E3s and E4s like plugging away trying to find veterans records and stuff. There's one lady to oversee the entire operation, and God bless her. Her name was Sandy. She's since retired, but I said, Sandy, what the fuck's going on? And she's like, what's the veteran's name? She's like, oh shit. She's like, the requests from Detroit are going to a building that we haven't been in since like 2000 or whatever it was. I'm like, Sandy, dude, you gotta do me a solid here. So now that she's retired, I can say this, but so she burned the copy of the records for me on a disc, and I drove them from Lansing to Detroit. Dude got his 100% like 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
back pay of like $30,000.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yep. So. And then
Did you get a percentage? No, I'm just kidding.
God, no.
He got you a Bud Light though, right? He took you out for a
I don't even want that anymore.
I know.
Right,
I'm just like, you know what? There's just so many of you guys out there.
But it's funny how that reminds me of like when you used to get permits and you'd make them fax the back of it. Or you put the number on the back, so you watch them fax it, because it would go sit in a basket before they would fax over the water kill to the water department way back 10 years ago, 15. And she would make them date the back, because we're paid for an application for a kill, and they would just put it in the basket. And sometimes them things would sit there for weeks to a month or 2 months before then that person faxed it. I know now we're into the new system, but if somebody don't enter it, or it went to this wrong email, or they don't get, nowadays there's still technical difficulties, I guess you would say. But when you can connect that, or at least follow it up, and it should be simpler.
Well, the systems aren't talky.
Right.
So, you know, like
Sure.
I said, you leave the federal
Right.
military service and you
right.
go back to the state, and just there's no compatible systems. Here's where and mind you, this is less than like 2 years ago. The state of Michigan in, I think, 2008 or 2000 something, created the MVAA. So the MVAA is now under the umbrella of the Department of Military Veterans Affairs, which is like the National Guard for Michigan. Well, the MVAA was created specifically to be a central coordinating point for all of the veterans in the state of Michigan. They have 35 full-time employees to help 600,000 veterans. And that's not even counting the spouses, the surviving spouses that
Right.
are eligible for widow's pension and DIC and whatnot. But this is, I can't make this shit up. The Resource Center has like 6 or 7 people back then. I don't know what it is now, but I'm a hands-on guy. You know, I like to know what I'm getting into. So I went to one of the resource people and I said, okay, I'm an Army vet. I live in Berrien County. I need a roof. You know what they did? They went to Google. How to get a roof in Berrien County for a veteran. I'm like, do you not know that Berrien County has a county Department of Veterans Affairs office? And they're like, what's that? I'm like, you don't know what that is? They've been around since 1899. And so what
You got Home Advisor.
Oh my God. They're still.
That's what happens. Oh no, you're serious. It is, because a lot of them are. Even certain communities and systems are in the backwoods, meaning whether it's at the city or state level, where certain things now should be email and credit card.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when you said that, I remember turning pro in '79. They give us all our medical records that we had to get, which were all paper, had to be sent to the AMA. Then the AMA digitized. However, back then was put on a card, like a credit card. And they were microfiched back then.
Microfiche, yeah.
Yep, and it went in your pants, your leathers or your motocross pants. So if ever something happened on the track, there was no waiting with your wreck. Wherever we were at in the United States racing, that body went to the hospital. They could pull them out of the pants, and that hospital had the medical records. And this was in '79. And then they could back then they went on like a parts thing, a microfiche.
Right.
But now it's computer, same thing. That when you say that made me think of that. And that's old technology, and now it should be.
Well, unfortunately, the state still has some microfiche.
Yeah. Sure.
I even said
for
to
a
this lady,
1982 Penton or something. Yeah,
it's bullshit.
I know it is. It has to be, because when you say that, it is horrible.
I said to this lady, I said, okay, look me up. This lady at the records department for the state of Michigan. She's like, all right, you're supposed to be in row 12, box A, line 2. So we go there, and there's some dude named like Joe something, whatever. I'm like, shit, if I needed these records, how would I get them?
Right.
She's like, good luck.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I just wonder how many other veterans are out there that,
right,
go through the same process, thinking, like, if you go on the state's website right now, they make it look so easy. Like,
I know.
That.
Right.
And that's so
I
frustrating.
know behind the scenes,
Yeah.
So frustrating. I have a veteran. He's been trying to get his DD-214, right?
His who?
It's
his discharge papers?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he has had zero luck with getting this DD-214.
I'll get it for him.
Yeah. And with that's what's so that we people have to be some things we take too much for granted. But if it wasn't for, and I know there's just you two, but you've rattled off a lot of different names of people at this within 500 miles of us, okay, that are out there trying to help them numbers. You said 200,000, 20,000 or what? Because if it wasn't, there would be, and even though they're not looking, if I don't ask it, I don't know it's broke, I can't fix it type of thing. But at the end of the day, thank God there are people like you both and others that are willing to do that, because when you were at the other vet program, right, that, connecting benefits, whether it's glasses or it makes me think of when our moms were getting older and you went and there's all this stuff for them. Of course, they have to apply for it, but if you don't apply, you can't get it. But it should be, veterans should be a lot more accessible.
Well, it should
easier,
be,
because it's way too hard when we got all this stuff on these phones and things that we do. That it should be easier.
Yeah,
I'm working on a pilot program right now where we utilize SVA students, so Student Veterans of America. In my undergrad, I was a chapter president for SVA, And I'm like, man, there's SVA on every, like, University of Michigan, Michigan State, like, all centrally located, Grand Valley, Northern Michigan. So my pilot project is to do this. The federal government, in all of its infinite wisdom, stumbled upon something called the Solid Start program. In my personal opinion, it could be the best program that the VA or the VHAs have ever put out. So essentially what it is, that 200,000 men and women that leave the military, we call them 3 times in 1 calendar year when they get back to wherever state they're in. We say, all right, we're supposed to say, hey, hey, I'm Joe Blow from, wherever. What can we help you with? We know that you just left the military. But the fucked up part is, I was able to get like a copy of like the script and everything, and it's pointless. It really is. Like, the people that are calling you are from like either a different country or like Arizona call center.
Mm-hmm.
They can't tell you where to go in Michigan to get the benefit. They can't tell you about the Jamie Paxtons of the world, the Josh Parishes, the Lynn Phillips, the Ronnie Cyrus of the world that are
at least connect them.
Vetted resources. So I'm like, all right, let's do a pilot program where we get the names that are coming back to Michigan, because we know on their discharge papers it says where their county was. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to utilize SBA students, because young college kids are probably broke, so we'll give them a stipend every month and they'll be our call center. But the best part about it is we'll have vetted resources broken down by county, by region, whatever works. So if we have somebody here in Tecumseh, where are we?
We're in Monroe County.
Okay, let's just use Monroe County.
Okay.
We have somebody in Monroe County that needs, Jamie Paxton or husband services. All right, we know you do good shit. Let's get them over to you. Let's do that warm handoff. Let's not just say, all right, I want you to call, this organization. We literally call that organization and say, hey, we got a vet, blah, 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 and then hand it off. So then we ensure that these people are going to, get the benefits they deserve. And I go to, I used to go to these MAC conferences, so Michigan Association of Counties. Each county sends representatives of their board of commissioners to these legislative conferences, and I would get in front of these board of commissioners, and it'd kind of be like that death by PowerPoint for a little bit, because they didn't give a shit what I was saying. But as soon as I say, listen, I can create what's called an indirect economic benefit for you by this. So let's take Livingston County, for example. We have 11,000 veterans in Livingston County. Less than 10% access a federal benefit. But that still brings in about $11 million in recoverables through something called a GDX report. So the federal government tracks federal monies trickling back down into states and to counties. So GDX stands for Geographic Distribution of Expenditures. It's really the only way the government can track how good they're taking care of their veterans. And I say, all right, if Livingston County is only seeing 10% of that population, what if I can get it up to 20? What if I can get that 11 million up to 22 million? And it's kind of like the $11 million figure is, VA home loans, is disability compensation, education, VA healthcare. I say, what if we can take a lot of these veterans off state assistance that should be eligible for healthcare and get them on the federal side? I had just helped my cousin yesterday. He's a Vietnam veteran in the UP. Called me. He didn't know he was eligible for VA health care. He got out in 76, 75 whenever he got out. And he didn't access VA health care until COVID, and he lost his job. He was a dispatcher. And then he just randomly was like, oh, I remember I'm getting 20% for hearing loss and tinnitus. And so he ended up calling Iron Mountain up in the UP, and they got him enrolled. And they're like, oh, you're service connected, so you don't have to go through those priority groups anymore. He's like, man, if I would have had this 30 years ago, just imagine. So now, he's got presumptive conditions because he was in country Vietnam for a year. So, heart ischemia, diabetes, certain types of cancer and stuff.
Sure.
He could have been at 100% for the last, let's just say realistically, 15, 20 years.
And so many veterans don't know that they are entitled to it. So many.
And some are real, and they're proud. Veterans are men and women. Men are different, like we were saying. And so they don't want to ask either. And that's the sad part, you know. because we're proud. It isn't gonna happen to me, or I'm okay, and when we're not.
Well,
but if it's entitlement, you might as well get it. 'Cause somebody else doesn't.
Every single
Exactly.
veteran that I have dealt with, right, has said these words to me. I don't need it. Use it for somebody else
Right.
who needs it, right?
Yeah, a lot of Vietnam people.
How many
yeah,
times have you
yeah.
heard those words,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like, use it for somebody,
Somebody
who really
deserves it
needs
more
it.
than
Yeah,
that.
right. And
Right.
you're like, whoa, wait a minute,
I'm like,
right?
dude, you got lung
Yeah.
cancer from Agent Orange. Who else
Yeah.
needs it more than you
Yeah.
do?
Right,
But
right.
it-
Yeah.
I hear that all the time, and it's crazy to me, you know?
So here's something that's really crazy, because you would think with veterans it would actually not work, but like I'd have a guy or a girl, whoever, sitting across in my office, and they kind of treat you like you don't know shit until they find out you're a vet, and then they'll straighten up a little bit. But you know what? I'll just tell them you're going to do A, B, C, and D, and it's like kind of like when they were back in basic training, they're like, okay, all right. So
Yeah.
and I've had success just telling them what to do.
Yes.
And telling them if I don't get that by next week, I'm gonna beat your ass.
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like
Or something.
that.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So,
And they want that. They thrive on that.
Yeah.
'Cause,
well,
Yeah.
get that mutual
Integration,
respect
yeah,
too. Yeah,
it is,
so,
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've had some with our organization where, hey, would you like to help? And they point blank tell me what you need.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, show up on Monday at 9.
Right. Yeah, even though it's sometimes volunteers, but right.
And they do, and then they're like, and then every single time it's so funny. They're like, thank you for calling me and allowing me to help,
Nice.
because they just thrive for that feeling of purpose again, right?
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. You lose that sense of purpose, that camaraderie in the military, and a lot of us sit there and struggle. And one of my best friends, he's a Iraq and Afghanistan war veteran, but it's kind of like when you're in the supermarket and you're like, oh, that dude's a vet. He might not be wearing a shirt or a hat, but you're like, no, the way he walks, man, that dude's a vet. So, you just come up, and kind of reminds me of like my 5-year-old daughter in kindergarten, and she's like oddly looking at somebody across from the room trying to make friends. That's kind of like sometimes veterans are like that. So, yeah.
But it's great though, because when we're in the same space, right?
Oh yeah, we're
You
just
don't
like
even
we've
sit-
known each
Yeah,
other for like
right.
30 years. Yeah.
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 No, I
Yeah,
agree.
it's so funny too. It's
Yeah.
like a comfortable pair of sneakers.
It is.
You know?
It is. Yeah, because you went through the same shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you speak the same, and even being around and not having to speak, it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
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 I don't have to say that. So
yeah.
here's what I don't want to miss, because
Sure.
I might have missed it in here, because I know we went straight from you being a veteran into what
Right.
you do, and I don't know that you said the name of your organization.
Sure.
So I want to make sure everybody knows
Yeah.
who you are, what you do, and we will put all of that out on social media so everybody can see and know how to get
All the
connected or
links.
whatever.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, I'm the president of a nonprofit called VETLIFE. I know it's kind of hard to see on my hat right there, but you can go on our social media. And why I think it's important for you to go on our social media right now is we're actually gearing up August 7th from 11 to 3 at the Fowlerville Family Fairgrounds. It's 8800 West Grand River, Fowlerville, Michigan. We expect at least 3,000 veterans and their family members to attend. We're hoping for 5, but we'll see how it goes. But go to www.vetlifetoday.org. So VetLife Today is all one word. Or follow us on all of our social media at VetLife Today. And we do daily updates. Like even this morning, we're giving away about 150 tickets to the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. Free of charge. There's no strings attached with us other than we just want you to take a picture at the event. Everything we do is geared toward the veteran and their family. We don't want to disinclude anybody in the equation. So I'll give you an idea of some of the things that we do. For the last 8 years, we've sponsored at least 50 veteran families for Christmas.
Wow.
So I grew up just dirt ass poor. It was me, my mom, my dad, and my grandma in a trailer for like the first 6 years of my life. And my mom conveniently doesn't remember this, but we used to have to go out to the well to freaking pump the water, and clean our shit and stuff. And so I used to have to sleep in my grandma's bed. And so this is why I got this. Her name was June, and she loved Lonesome Dove. Remember that show?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to watch that stupid show every single night, and she'd sit there and chain smoke. But the reason I
But it was
bring
your
that-
grandma.
Yeah, the reason I bring that
right.
up, it's just like I come from humble beginnings, so I'm not stuffy with what I do. What you see is what you get with me, and I don't want to be politically correct if I don't have to be. If I have to, I will. But so I do recognize, and I don't think it's just because I have a family myself, but I think I recognize that to, I guess, ensure that our veterans are successful in their lives and endeavors, whatever they do when they leave the military, we want to make it as family friendly as possible. So I mentioned with Christmas presents, because like I said, I grew up, we always had to do our Christmas like the day before, and I'd get like a jacket or like a weird Christmas shirt or something.
Something real useful.
My mom's watching.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. We're not like that anymore. But yeah, I mean, I knew what it was like to not get presents as a kid. So, I mean, we spoil these kids. I mean, they're not getting 3 presents. They're getting 10, 12, 15 presents each. And I think in the last 8 years, we've sponsored at least 500 families.
Wow.
We do turkey basket giveaways. We do this event called Heroes on the Huron, where we sponsor 50, 60 veteran families to go on a kayaking trip.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so everything we do, our mission at VetLife is to provide a more healthier and prosperous lifestyle for veterans and their families. So, yeah, every event we do, and I mentioned VetFest, so the name of the event is VetFest. If you go on our social media or on our website, VetFest is Michigan's largest veterans outreach event. Like I said, it's a free band. We have food trucks this year. We'll have 4 food trucks there. There's a petting zoo.
When is it?
It's August 7th from 11 to 3 at the Fowlerville Family Fairgrounds.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we'll probably expect around 60 to 70 resource providers. So VetLife has what's called their 4 core pillars of excellence. And what we found is that veterans face 4 main struggles leaving the military and transitioning back into civilian life. And if you fit within one of those buckets, we ask you to come to our event to be a resource provider. So that's education, employment, healthcare, and quality of life. So, like I said, if you are a for-profit or a nonprofit, if you help veterans, you come to our event and we just connect the veterans to their benefits. So,
Amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I hope you guys can make it. I'd really love to have you out there.
It's actually our anniversary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get you on stage, plug your nonprofit, and maybe you guys can win an AR-15. So,
How many are you giving away?
so this year we're giving away 2 AR-15s and a muzzleloader pistol. Gosh, we're giving away some cool shit this year. Kayaks, grills, vacation packages. So the way we work it is we normally have 2 or 3 bands play, and then every hour on the hour we give away 5 gifts. And our gifts are valued at lowest end $300,
Right.
all the way up to $1,500. I think this year we're actually doing a 2-year. So sometimes, veterans sometimes can be unreliable in a sense.
Yeah.
So I'm like, God, I'm getting, 3,600 people registering for the event, but I'm only getting 3,000 show up. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to kind of trick them a little bit. I said, this year we're going to do a 2-year lease on a vehicle. And all you got to do is just check in on Eventbrite at the event. That's all I want.
Right.
I don't care if you come there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Right.
I'll draw you in.
Right,
And
right.
once I draw you in, you're not getting away because you're going to be like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
Because that old need not be present to win
Yeah.
sometimes gets them all, you
Bullshit.
see all,
You asked me to get here.
And that's where you got to
Yeah.
tag
Yeah.
it or take a picture with Lucky, whatever you got. And that's the way to do it because, you want you got to have some skin in the game.
Exactly.
A
There
little.
has to be.
And
yeah.
sometimes there needs, like you said, for a 2-year lease, if that's what it, there might be a little more
And so
skin
there's no
for that.
charge.
No, it is literally completely free. I mentioned earlier, that gentleman that you mentioned that's got 7 or 10 kids, whatever it is, can't necessarily, unless he's got a shit ton of disposable income, he's not going to be able to take his kids to something
Sure.
like this.
Right.
I mean, literally everything is free, even down to the beer. I mean, Sam Adams is going to sponsor this year, do the beer tent. within reason. But
Yeah,
the good
yeah.
thing is veterans seem to kind of check themselves.
Yeah.
Like we had a vet like the first year that
Free
had
beer.
a couple too many beers,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then his buddy's like, "Come on, man, you know,
Yeah.
get your shit together."
You gotta go
Yeah.
over to the free
Yeah,
pizza
get
now.
over
Soak it up.
it,
Yeah,
get
yeah.
some free
No, I got
water.
you. Yeah.
Get some free water.
Free water. Yeah.
Well,
No,
I am
but that's
so
true.
excited
Yeah.
that you came on here,
I'm too.
that you shared all that you do.
Mm-hmm.
We will share everything that we can on social media. This will be uploaded to YouTube tomorrow, so I'll share the link with you then if you can share it wherever you want to share it.
That'd be great. So we'll put it on all of our social media. We'll put it on our YouTube page. So I'm fortunate now where we're starting to, gain some more traction and be able to get more exposure. So we actually sponsor a podcast. A good buddy of mine's an MMA guy, and he's got fighters in the UFC and Victa, the high level stuff. I'll share that with him. Good majority of his students are veterans themselves.
Wow.
So yeah. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because we are in that, you got to reach like 100 before you can change the name to a short name at YouTube, right? We're like,
Oh yeah, we'll get you some subscribers. Yeah,
we're like 20 or
Tweeners.
10 shy from
Yeah.
100. We're like, just so we can shorten the name on the
Yeah.
YouTube,
Where do you live at? I mean, what part of Michigan?
So I live in Howell.
How?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it took me just hour and 20 minutes to
Hour
get
and 20
here.
north, yeah.
Yeah, but it's such an easy drive though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was down 23 or
23, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 23 is
So
pretty much straight
it's up
shot.
in here somewhere, right? Where's Howell at?
So Howell is smack dab in the middle of Lansing and Ann Arbor.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
How
so
far is it from Jackson?
Jackson was in my area of coverage, so we're about in 50 minutes, would be 50 minutes east of Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Awesome.
yeah, I had a lot of drives to Jackson. I did not enjoy the drives to Hillsdale when I was with the state. That was out in Hillbillyville. So,
Billyville.
yeah, it was bad. It was like a train track, so like where I grew up. So yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Kim, thank you so much. I see what you're saying. How do we get this information so we can pass this on? Are taking too long to get. I would say, TC Clement is here in Monroe County. He's a freshman state representative, really good friend of mine. Reach out to your local representatives. I guess the best I can say, because I think that's the only way we're going to get this change to happen, is for people like you to, kind of make sure this is spotlighted. So yeah, it is an issue though. It's a big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And TC is a supporter of ours, too.
I love TC.
I do, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his wife, Jamie, is awesome,
I
too.
have not met her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not
Yeah,
yet.
she was a police officer.
Yeah, they were both.
Yeah.
Were like one in Florida or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys very much for watching us tonight. Thank you again, Josh, for being on here and all that you do. And thank you for your service. So
Appreciate it.
we hope that you guys have a blessed evening, and we will catch you next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye. Yeah, that was pretty cool.